Baldur's Gate 3 is out now on PC and is already a massive hit. Reviews are still coming in, but the ones we have are incredibly high. I'm still working on my review, but spoiler alert for my thoughts on the game, it's good. Peaking at over 875,000 players so far on Steam, it's one of the highest played games of all time, exceeding even the developers' wildest expectations. And this is without even being released on PS5 or Xbox yet, where even more players will get to experience it. With all of this, it seems like a no-brainer this will be the gold standard for RPGs going forward. Well, it's not that easy. Before the game released, there was some controversy and drama around this topic. Some developers came out and said Baldur's Gate 3 won't be and shouldn't be the new standard in RPGs. Some of these comments were taken out of context, as some of the comments were referring to smaller indie developers. In this case, gamers should absolutely not expect this level of game with its reactivity and overall quality from a small indie dev. And I don't think most gamers would expect that. However, what gamers will expect is for AAA developers and publishers to pay attention to Baldur's Gate 3 and use it as inspiration going forward. It should be the new standard of RPGs. But again, it's not that easy. Larian is in a very unique position to make this game. Everything they have made to this point has been building to Baldur's Gate 3. All of their experience from the Divinity series has led to this. They are gamers and they are passionate about RPGs. They make games they want to play. They were able to get the actual D&D license, an extremely popular IP in the middle of a huge popularity boom, to try to make a game as true to tabletop Dungeons & Dragons as they could. But one of the main things that puts Larian in a unique position to make this game is the fact that they are a privately owned, independent company who published this game themselves. They can take their time. They weren't dependent on keeping shareholders happy and the stock price up. They could take risks and make the game they wanted to make. This allowed us to have the game we do. A game that allows players to use their imagination and creativity to solve problems. A game that has thousands of different combinations to react to a player's choice and is getting universal praise. Unfortunately, the sad reality is most AAA developers won't be able to copy this. They don't have the experience and aren't given the time to try to pull off a game like this. They need to release games to keep shareholders happy. As much as other developers would want to mimic some of the items of Baldur's Gate 3, it's going to be tough. The realm of AAA developers finds itself constantly battling between ambitious ideas and experience and time. Often, confined by these tight schedules and their pursuit of shareholder satisfaction, these developers often have to make cuts in their game. So as much as gamers would like to see it, I don't think we're going to see a change in the landscape of RPGs where developers try to focus on games where gameplay is this dynamic and player choice is taken into account as much as it is in Baldur's Gate 3. The standard RPG going forward isn't going to have 174 hours of cinematics and 17,000 possible choices that can be made throughout a player's journey. Again, Larian was in a unique position to make a game like this. However, where Baldur's Gate 3 should be the standard and where other developers should take notice is the quality and monetization structure. There is no season pass. There is no cash shop. You can't buy experience. The game is complete. It doesn't rely on the need for DLC to finish the story or anything like that. The game is done and Larian is selling the full game for $60. In today's world of AAA development, season passes and cash shops have unfortunately become the norm. Starting all the way back with the infamous horse armor in Oblivion, games have been selling cosmetics and boosts that can only be acquired with real money. Most gamers despise this, but it makes developers a ton of money. It's a way to supplement sales, and there are people buying these things. But developers and publishers should take notice of Baldur's Gate 3. The discourse around the game is almost all positive. People are praising the game and the fact that there are no microtransactions, and a game this large released in a pretty polished state. This is a fairly niche, fairly hardcore RPG. The fact that it's broken into the main gaming sphere with this reaction and this many players is incredible. It's presumably going to make a lot of money. If anything is gained from Baldur's Gate 3, maybe it's that these developers can afford to take a little more time with their games or take a few more risks. If you spend this time, you take these risks, if you make a good game, players will buy it and you can focus on sales and not those predatory microtransactions. So even though Larian is in a unique position to make this game, Baldur's Gate 3 still has a chance to change the RPG and overall gaming landscape as we know it. It's not going to happen overnight, but with the positive reaction so far of the game, developers and publishers will have to take notice. And they already are taking notice, or else we wouldn't have comments from developers saying that players shouldn't expect Baldur's Gate 3 to be the new standard in RPGs. Not all games will have the systems and player choice of Baldur's Gate 3. Not all games will release complete and without microtransactions. But if there's even a small change in the future and games take some inspiration from it, Baldur's Gate 3 could be the game that set the new standard, the game that changed gaming forever.